Volodymyr Zelensky slams NATO at a key summit in Vilnius, demanding members decide when Ukraine can join the alliance.
A big boost for the NATO summit underway in Lithuania as Turkey agrees to allow Sweden to join the military alliance. Fresh protests in Israel a day after the right-wing coalition government passed a first vote in favour of a controversial judicial reform bill.
The reconstruction of Notre Dame reaches a key phase with the arrival of special hand-built timber frames. Volodymyr Zelensky has joined NATO leaders at their key summit in Vilnius with a harsh message about the absence of a timetable for Ukraine's eventual membership of the alliance. In a tweet sent before his arrival, he said it was unprecedented and absurd that a time frame hadn't been set for either an invitation to join or for membership, indicating he intended to raise the issue at the summit. The comments raised tensions between the allies at a meeting that was intended to showcase their unity and solidarity with Ukraine. It's understood officials have drafted a proposal on Ukraine's possible membership that hasn't been published yet. Deep divisions are said to remain among the allies on the next steps.
It is set to be a historic summit that will change the face and plans of NATO for decades to come. Atlantic Alliance leaders have gathered in Vilnius to discuss the future of the alliance's relationship with Ukraine. Positions remain unchanged, and the Ukrainian president warns that it would be absurd not receiving an invitation to join NATO. Yesterday, Turkey made a surprise declaration by lifting its veto on Sweden's accession.
Now that Turkey lifted its veto over Sweden's bid to join the alliance, the thorniest challenge of this summit remains how to handle Ukraine's bid for NATO membership. NATO leaders are divided over this issue, with eastern countries or France being ready to give a clear pathway for a fast-track process after the end of the war, while countries like the United States or Germany are still cautious over the process, insisting that clear and concrete steps have to be taken for every candidate member. Efi Koutsakosta, Euronews, Vilnius.
While NATO leaders meet in Vilnius to talk about their future relationship with Ukraine, instructors from the Atlantic Alliance have been training Ukrainian soldiers in urban combat techniques. France is doing it in Poland, in a camp the location of which remains secret for security reasons.
Il y a une demande spécifique des militaires ukrainiens pour s'entraîner en zone urbaine. Donc nous répondons à cette attente en proposant le meilleur de notre expérience et de nos capacités.
Instructors teach them how to fight in an urban setting with houses, cars, walls and debris. Very useful training given the course of the war against Russia.
Il y a beaucoup de savoir-faire qui sont mis en œuvre, la façon de rentrer dans un bâtiment, de passer devant une fenêtre, de traverser une rue. Tout ça, ça peut paraître extrêmement simple, mais en fait, il y a des techniques qui sont enseignées et qui sont répétées, qui sont démontrées par les instructeurs français et qui sont répétées X fois jusqu'à ce que les militaires ukrainiens les maîtrisent le mieux possible.
Ukrainian soldiers are receiving training in many NATO countries in the handling of weapons, armoured vehicles, etc. But the Ukrainian army also conducts intensive training at home. These soldiers fight almost daily on the front line, and they use the few lulls in the war to improve their combat skills.
The death toll from Sunday's Russian strike on a humanitarian aid delivery centre in the southern Ukrainian city of Orikhiv has risen to 7. Rescuers have finished combing the rubble. The centre was inside a school. Orikhiv is near the front line where Ukrainian forces were pushing to recapture heavily fortified positions from Moscow's forces last month. The regional governor denounced the strike as a war crime. Volunteers who had previously helped evacuate people from flooded streets after the Kakhovka dam burst are now clearing houses of debris brought by the water. In the Kherson region, locals have little left of their homes or belongings.
Жалко всех людей, которые попали под затопление, то что у них все, они уже остались без жилья, все пропало, а даже стены уже рушатся, потолки, все, крыши.
Ukraine's State Emergency Service has shared a video of firefighters coming under enemy shelling while extinguishing a fire within the Donetsk region. They made a dash to find shelter. No one was injured.
Protesters in Israel facing off against the police. Tens of thousands of demonstrators have blocked highways and roads in Tel Aviv and elsewhere across the country today. They're protesting against a controversial judicial reform bill by Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's hard-right coalition government. Over 40 people have been arrested so far. The bill, which won the first of 3 votes required for it to be written into law late on Monday, seeks to curb the power of the Supreme Court to review and overturn government decisions. Protesters say democracy itself is in danger.
They are running like crazy to do the legislation without any achieving a consensus, and at the end they are risking our country.
As a right-wing man, political opinion man, I think and I'm convinced that the way things are going here are very bad for us as a democracy.
Yesterday's vote passed to cries of "for shame" by opposition parties. The government argues that the changes are necessary to ensure a better balance of power. But critics believe it would give politicians more power over the courts, reduce their independence and weaken the country's democracy.
Heat waves and heated debates. As Spain battles through the second hot spell of the summer, the two contenders poised to lead the country's next government battled it out on the little screen. With less than 2 weeks to go until July's snap general election, outgoing Socialist Prime Minister Pedro Sánchez and Popular Party leader Alberto Núñez Feijóo spent 100 minutes talking over each other and hurling insults.
Y lo que le digo a los españoles es que yo no soy perfecto, no aspiro a serlo, he cometido errores. He tenido un mandato absolutamente difícil, inédito, con una pandemia y una guerra ahora mismo en las puertas de Europa. Pero ¿sabe lo que le digo, señor Feijóo? Que yo soy un político limpio. Soy un político limpio.
Conservative Feijóo, who could win the vote if he secures the support of the far right, called for a solid majority and slammed Sánchez's government for relying on the ultra-left.
No le diré al señor Zelensky que le voy a ayudar militarmente y una parte de mi coalición diciendo que lo que hay que hacer es rebajar el gasto y filtrar con Putin. Yo eso no lo voy a hacer, señor.
¿Puedo hablar?
Soy un político previsor, europeísta, atlantista y constituido.
Who won the only televised debate of the campaign? Analysts are divided on the answer, but most agree it was not Sánchez, despite the advantage he had over Feijóo as the incumbent Prime Minister.
The European Court of Human Rights has condemned Russia over an investigation into the 2015 murder in Moscow of Boris Nemtsov, one of Vladimir Putin's main opponents. Nemtsov was shot 4 times at close range on a bridge close to the Kremlin on the 27th of February 2015. The case was brought by his daughter, Zhana. The court found that the Russian authorities did not adequately investigate the identity of the persons who'd organised and ordered the assassination, nor did they examine claims of political motivation or involvement of the state.
A volcano near Iceland's capital Reykjavik has erupted after a strong earthquake hit the nation on Sunday. Local media footage showed a massive cloud of smoke rising from the ground, as well as a substantial flow of lava. It's the 3rd time in 2 years that lava has gushed out of the volcano, which is about 30 kilometres from the city. Iceland's meteorological office says no ash has been admitted, and so far no disruption has been reported at the country's main airport.
At least 6 people have been confirmed dead and 3 missing after a landslide triggered by torrential rain in southwestern Japan. There are fears that the death toll could rise as tens of thousands of residents were told to evacuate their homes, with forecasters warning the region could see its heaviest rain ever. The wet weather over the past week has caused rivers to burst their banks and waterlogged earth to collapse. Japan is in the middle of its annual rainy season, which often brings heavy downpours.
Double Olympic champion runner Caster Semenya has won her appeal against track and field testosterone rules. The European Court of Human Rights ruled that she had been discriminated against in Switzerland. South African Semenya, who is classed as having differences in sexual development, has refused to take testosterone-lowering drugs. She was the 2012 and 2016 Olympic champion in the 800 meters, but has been barred from running in the event for the past 4 years.
Notre Dame's rise from the ashes has reached a key stage with the installation of centrepiece timber frames on the roof. They arrived at Paris's iconic medieval cathedral by barge down the Seine River and drew a crowd of onlookers, France's transport minister among them.
Et nous vivons, je crois, ce matin à Paris, sous l'œil de beaucoup de Parisiens, un moment tout simplement magique. C'est Notre-Dame qui continue à reprendre vie, c'est la Seine qui devient un élément de réappropriation pour les Parisiens et toutes les étapes qui suivent, la baignade, les Jeux Olympiques l'attestent, et c'est l'écologie concrète que l'on essaye d'encourager.
The 3 timber frames will support the reconstructed roof, which was gutted by fire just over 4 years ago. They've been created by specialist artisans at a workshop north of Paris using techniques and tools of the Middle Ages. It's hoped the entire rebuilding project will be completed by the end of 2024.